many different studies, of course, on how we can avoid our cognitive decline. The latest suggests that we shouldn't get too used to old habits. Joining me live is Professor Matthew Kiernan, Director of Neuroscience Research Australia. Thanks for your time. Fascinating reading this. And when I say old habits, this even included everything down to, the way you drive home or walk home at night, things that are that basic. What did this research find exactly?
So the brain is really a dynamic network and it likes being challenged. So the more that you can challenge it with new tasks, new experiences, the more that it functions at an optimal level. And as Professor Ray Dolan, who was the lead scientist behind the studies, has suggested, the more that you can, for instance, challenge yourself, for instance, just taking a new way home from work, new tasks, the better the brain will function.
So that's interesting on new tasks, because the cliche has sort of been, have you done your Wordle and have you done your Sudoku? But I guess if you're just doing them every single day, it's maybe not a lot of variety. It's not just keeping active, but totally different things that are helping as well.
Yeah, so I suppose getting 100% in the test over and over again does become a bit boring and your brain habituates. So it does need a challenge. And there are reward centers in the brain as well, which particularly are governed by neurotransmitters like dopamine, further enhance the neuro experiences. So there's a satisfaction that's driven through a new task. And that could be, as you say, a different type of cognitive task. It could be learning a new language, visiting a new country. All of these new experiences are the ways to keep your brain in optimal health.
So that's interesting too. I mean, some people might think, what's the point in going off and learning Spanish? I'm 75, I won't be that good at it, but it is actually good for you. Maybe the cliche of taking up golf, you think, I'm never going to get a handicap under 30, but it's something different for your brain to master.
Absolutely. And it turns out that our brain is functioning even when we're asleep, unconscious. So there's a process called neural replay, and it goes through all of the experiences of the day, and it lays down a whole pathway. But that pathway isn't really for past memory. It's to influence what happens in the future. So by going through a new pathway, learning a new golf game, learning a new approach to languages, you are enhancing that process to adapt to a future new task.
There you go. I'll just tell my parents that those challenges with my children are just going to help them because they've got a whole new problem to solve every time they look after them. The other thing I read that was interesting, alcohol is not good for those neural pathways being sort of late at night, but nor is, now I'm getting the right word here, rumination. It sounds to me like if you're bitter and you just can't get over something, that mindset element, that's not good for you as well. Is that the right read of that?
Yeah, well, I suppose there's a reward process linked to this, and there's positive rewards and negative rewards. And rumination is a sort of a negative process, which has a whole different level of neurotransmission that's trying to reinforce these pathways. So you're much better off trying to, as much as possible, switch off from the bad experiences and trying to drive the more positive influences. And the brain responds in a better way. So less rumination, more possibilities, and more, I think, thinking in the future rather than returning to the past.
I guess that sort of aligns with what we've been told for a lot of years in a lot of, say, self-help books and so on. I mean, for me, I should never think of the 2023 AFL Grand Final again. We kind of know that. What's interesting about the study is that it puts a bit of science onto that, I suppose.
Yeah, and I think we're lucky we live in this age. We've got great technology, we've got better understanding of the brain and better processes to really test how memory is laid down. And I think it shows us as well, the brain is the final frontier. We still don't understand the inner workings of the brain, and new parts are being discovered almost on a daily basis. So it's an incredibly exciting area.
Professor Matthew Kiernan, food for thought as always. Thank you.
Thanks, Tom.